It's time for another C2 level, and you all know what that means. Time to be suffocated by infectious fog and gooped on by all the spitters. Hello everyone, Professor Scalar here, and welcome to the alternate R6C2 level guide. As always, we're starting off with the recommended loadout, and this time around, that is going to be a biotracker, a mine deployer, a seafoam launcher, and then any sentry of your choice. Reason why I like the biotracker is because this level does have a fair amount of infectious fog in it, and it will be hitting your sight quite often. As for the mine deploying seafoam launcher, classic combo to deal with all the alarm doors in this level. Just shut the doors, reinforce them with seafoam, place a mine on them, and it'll do wonders during the alarms. And there's also going to be a blood door or two in this level we have to make our way through, and mines are a great way to deal with them. As for the sentry, this is just to give you some extra firepower. It's not going to really influence the level all that much since we are relying mostly on mines and seafoam, so take whatever sentry you feel like. Any of them will get the job done, just make sure you are positioning it properly. Dropping down into level, you'll see that your main objective is to distribute the 3 power cells given to you right at the get-go into generators found throughout the level. Starting off, you and your teammates will be inside zone 116. As I said, the 3 cells will be given to you in the drop. And here, not really a whole lot of special stuff, just some enemies to deal with, resources to collect. There are 2 security doors, one which will lead to zone 117, which I recommend you go there first, as that security door is just simply a full team scan, and in there, while there will be a fair amount of giants and a lot of spitters, there's also going to be a decent amount of resources as well as some fog repellers, which you would definitely want for this mission. So go in here, take care of everything inside zone 117. Once you got to all that, backtrack out to zone 118, make sure you bring all 3 of those power cells with you, and the security door there is also just going to be a full team scan. As for zone 118, there's going to be a lot of infectious fog in this zone, so I highly recommend just going ahead and pull the rooms, that way you don't have to waste too many fog repellers. Do be cautious though, there is a scout in this zone somewhere, so make sure you don't accidentally alert it when you're going to pull these rooms. And just bring the power cells with you. I like to sort of take the northern route of the zone as I can actually stay above the fog for a good amount of it. But then when I do go down to the fog, just use the fog repellers to make it through safely and bring those power cells with you. Once you make your way to the far eastern side of the zone, you will find a security door to zone 119. This door is going to have a class 4 alarm tied to it. And as you can see with this map overlay, it's a little bit weird, but during many of my experiences, the enemies will actually spawn 3 rooms away during this alarm. So go on ahead and shut every single one of the doors I have highlighted, and then the 2 that are the closest to you, so specifically these 2, you're going to want to make sure you go on ahead, reinforce with seafoam, and place a mine on them, and the sentry you can just have somewhere in your room facing over towards the west. Once you got everything set up, you can throw some fog repellers, that way you can actually go down to the door and not gain a ton of infection, and just go and work on the alarm. Once all the scans have been taken care of, make sure you deal with any of the enemies who are still left alive, then pack up your sentry and go on into the next area. As for zone 119 itself, in here there is going to be a fog turbine somewhere, which you're definitely going to want to make sure you bring with you, and there's also going to be another scout patrolling about, but that's about all the special stuff inside of here. So make your way through, clear all the enemies, then I recommend you bring 2 of the power cells over to the far eastern security door and just leave them there, while the 3rd one you take with you down to the southern end along with the fog turbine, as you're now going to have to head down below to the security door to zone 121, which is going to be a blood door. This door will be down the infectious fog, so place a mine facing directly towards it, open it up, and just fall back up towards the top of the room. Most of the time, there's a lot of enemies inside the first room of that zone, so there's going to be a lot of stuff coming after you, but it's fine. You got a good little staircase here to funnel them. And once everything is dead, pick up the fog turbine and your power cell and make your way down into the zone. Almost the entirety of the zone is covered in infectious fog, and there will be more enemies to deal with and resources to collect. And towards the back end of it, you will find your very first generator. Now, once you plug your power cell into it, you're going to want to skedaddle back into zone 119, because once you plug it in, the infectious fog is going to slowly rise up a pretty fair amount. And there will be a terminal inside of the next zone we can use to lower it back to its regular levels, so we want to get to it as quickly as we can. So plug the power cell in, go back into zone 119, go to the northern into the security door in zone 120, which is now unlocked, and we're going to want to quickly set up our defenses as this security door has a class 3 cluster alarm tied to it. And as you can see with this map overlay, enemies can spawn either from the west or from down south, and there are 2 different doors they could take to get into a room, assuming we leave all 3 of the core doors shut. So what I like to do actually before I even go down into the infectious fog-filled zone is I'll have this door right here shut, mined, and sea-foamed in advance, and then this door right here, we just leave it open until we come back, and once we make our way through, shut it behind us, mine it, and sea-foam it. Once we're good, we pull the alarm, throw a few fog repellers throughout the room so we could split up a bit and not just all huddle against that fog turbine person. And I would also say if you want to, sea-foam launcher person, go on ahead and run over to whichever one of the 2 doors they make it to first and just reinforce it a little bit. That way your teammates could focus on the scans and not worry about dealing with all those enemies in their faces. Once all the scans are finished though, you can deal with the enemies and then just go into zone 120. In there's never going to be any enemies, but at the bottom of the room in the middle, you will be able to find the terminal. Put the command into it, this will lower the fog and make it so you can walk around a bit more safely. Then you could just grab any of the resources inside zone 120 to resupply with them, and then once you've done that, go back into zone 119, go to the eastern into the security door to 122, which is now just unlocked, and we could continue further on into the level. As for the security door, it's just simply a full team scan, and zone 122 itself, there's going to be a few rooms you have to make your way through. These rooms are going to be covered in spitters, there's also going to be a fair amount of enemies, and 2 scouts patrolling about, and you really don't want to trigger them as almost every single door in this zone is crucial for the upcoming alarm. In the final room, you will be able to find a security door to zone 123, as well as your second generator. And just like before, when you plug the power cell into the generator, it will cause the fog to rise up a fair amount, so make sure you don't plug this in until you're ready to go. But once you are good, you are then going to plug that power cell into the generator, and then the security door to 123 is going to unlock, and that door is going to have a class 5 alarm tied to it. And as you can see with this map overlay, we're actually going to be doing something a little bit sneaky, because the first full team scan of that security door actually doesn't spawn right next to the door, but moves away a bit. So we're going to have one person stay in the previous room to just push the spawns back a little bit further. That way we can actually utilize all of the doors in this area and make the alarm a little bit easier to manage. So the 2 outer doors, you're just going to simply shut those, no need to mine them or sea-foam them, but the 2 doors that lead into your room, go on ahead, shut both of them, place a mine on both of them, and you can either sea-foam them right now, or if you want to, you could just wait until you know which direction they're coming from. Then the person with the sea-foam launcher could quickly run over and sea-foam the door, and maybe even re-sea-foam it a little bit midway through the alarm. But that's really all there is to it. I also say throw a few fog repellers during this alarm, as the fog is going to rise up while you're working on it. But once you get every single one of the scans finished, just deal with any enemies who are still left alive. Then you could do the checkpoint scan that's tied to the door itself, which will automatically open it up. Then once it's open, you could go into the room. In the very first room, along the left side of the wall, you will find the terminal you can use to lower the fog again. But be aware that inside of zone 123, there will be a fair amount of sleeping baby strikers. Deal with the enemies, grab resources. You will be able to find your very first bulkhead key, as well as the door control and the doors to your main and secondary objectives. And you will also be able to find another security door, specifically a blood door that takes you to zone 127. So once you clear out all the enemies in the zone, you could go on ahead and take the fog turbine as well as the power cell you still have left and take it to the main bulkhead door and just drop them off there. Then we're going to take a slight detour and go to the security door to 127. Place a mine on that blood door, open it up, fall back, deal with it just like you typically would. And inside zone 127, this is a optional resource zone, which will also have a disinfect station in it, so you and your teammates can remove any infection you have. And there's also a pretty good chance you will find multiple sea-foam grenades in here, which will help out for the remainder of the main objective. Once you've taken care of all of that though, it is now time to make a decision. If you and your teammates are only doing the main objective and you don't care about secondary whatsoever, you're going to want to jump to the timestamp that you see on screen. There we will talk about zone 124 and everything all the way to extraction. As for everybody else though, we're going to be doing that scan to unlock the bulkhead door to zone 245 and go over there and just open it up as there's no scan tied to it, and we're going to get started on our secondary objective. Upon entering into zone 245, you'll see that your secondary objective is to retrieve a cargo crate, which will always be located inside zone 246, and then bring it with you to extraction. As for zone 245 itself, there will never be any enemies in here, but there will be resources to collect, and at the far eastern side of the zone, you will find a security door to 246. This door though is going to have a class 1 sustain alarm tied to it, and as you can see with this map overlay, there are 2 possible spawn locations for these enemies. So all we're going to do is make sure that this door right here is shut, mined, and sea-foamed, and then your sentry you can either place outside of the bulkhead area facing upwards towards the stairs to shoot at enemies from behind as they enter through it, or you could keep it in the room and have it on the southern catwalk facing towards the west, because if you all hug the left side of the scan, like you can see my teammates doing in the background footage, all the enemies will take the left path of the room to get to you and your teammates. So up to you on exactly where you want to place the sentry. Of course, what type of sentry you bring with you also could change up its positioning, but once you're good to go, activate the alarm, work on the scan. Once it's been finished, just deal with any enemies who are still left alive, and then you can pack up your sentry and go into zone 246. Now, as for zone 246 itself, there are no enemies in here, no resources whatsoever. It's just simply going to be that cargo crate. But the moment you pick it up, it is going to initiate an error alarm, which will spawn in 3 hybrids roughly every 45 seconds. And it is automatically going to open up the security door to zone 247. So what I like to do is I kind of do a 2 and 2 split. 2 people are going to pick up that cargo and start walking it back to the main bulkhead door from earlier, while 2 people are going to go into zone 247 and they're going to be looking for your second bulkhead key. As far as I'm aware, this zone will never contain any resources in it, but there will be a fair amount of regular strikers and shooters, and the bomb portion of this room is completely covered in infectious fog. You might get lucky and your bulkhead key will be right at the beginning of the room, in which case you could just simply grab it and leave, or you'll get unlucky and it's at the far other end of it, in which case just simply pull the room, let the enemies come to you, then use fog repels to quickly make your way to the other side, get your key, grab a few more fog repels, which are usually in here, and then you're just going to backtrack out of the zone and continue on with the rest of the main objective. Speaking of which, welcome everybody. We are now continuing on with the rest of the main objective as a team. Something I want to quickly clarify for those of you who skipped ahead to this moment of the video is that the people who went and did the secondary objective, they need to bring a cargo crate with them, so they are carrying an extra item, and they also have an error alarm that's spawning in 3 hybrids every 45 seconds. But going back out, we now finish the scan for the main bulkhead door, then we head up to the main bulkhead itself, the one to zone 124. This door is going to have a full team scan tied to it, and I would recommend wait for a wave of hybrids to spawn in and quickly deal with them before you actually open up the security door itself, because zone 124 itself will only contain a single enemy, which is going to be a normal birther. However, this birther automatically wakes up very shortly after that door fully opens up. So if she's close to the entrance and you can actually see her with a bio tracker or by looking through the window, it's not too big of a deal. You open up the door, rush her down, hit her with a seafoam grenade to freeze her in place, and then just quickly kill her before she breaks out. Once she's dead, you can very quickly look around and grab resources from inside the zone. Again, kind of do a 2 and 2 split. 2 people who focus on the hybrids, 2 people who are quickly grabbing resources. And once you're good to move forward, you can go to the security door near the entrance, which leads to zone 125. This door is just going to have a full team scan tied to it. And once you finish it, if you are doing secondary and you have the error alarm, defenders, go back a little bit because you don't want to be too close to the entrance to zone 125 when you open it up. Reason for it is because zone 125 will contain multiple different rooms which will be covered in pitch black darkness, and the second half of the rooms will be covered in infectious fog. And throughout this zone, there's going to be a fair amount of enemies as well as 3 scouts patrolling about. So while you're shooting and dealing with those hybrids, you don't want to risk your gunshots actually waking up those enemies or these scouts and making it so the people who are pushing ahead and clearing out these enemies have a more difficult time. And as you make your way through, eventually you will get to the point where you have to go down below into the infectious fog. When this happens, I usually just like to pull the first room, assuming there is no scout in it. Then I'll throw a fog repellent down, open up the door at the bottom, and then pull the final room of the zone, again assuming there's no scout in it. And once all the rooms are pulled, you'll then just have the 2 people take the fog turbine and the power cell down into that room. You'll plug it into the 3rd generator, which is going to do the same thing as before. It will cause the infectious fog to rise up a bit. It will also unlock the next security door, and then you'll just take the fog turbine and the cargo crate as well as your teammates, and you're just going to make your way down to the far end of the zone. When you're doing this final bit and you're making your way through, I highly recommend shut the doors behind you, maybe even reinforce them with seafoam and mines if you have some excess ones, but make sure you save at least 1 mine, because the security door to zone 126 at the far end of the zone is going to be a blood door. So just make your way back, throw fog repellers throughout this final room to make it easier to traverse through here. Just place a mine on the blood door. I believe you can get one facing directly towards it, which is quite nice. And then just open it up, let the mine deal with a fair amount of the enemies, you just shoot and kill the rest of them. And once everything is dead, pack up that fog turbine and the cargo crate, and just make your way through that door and just keep going through the zone. As you make your way through, there will be a few more doors you could shut behind you just to keep those hybrids back even longer. And once you make your way to the final room of the zone, you will be able to find your extraction scan. This is a fairly quick scan as well, so assuming you're actually able to make it here and you don't have a horde of hybrids right on your tail, you should be fine. Get the scan to 100%, and the moment you do, you are done and you've completed alternate R6C2. And that's all there is to it. Alternate R6C2 follows the pattern of many other rundowns where the C2 level, for some reason, needs to be filled with infectious fog and spitters out the wazoo. Thank goodness for fog turbines, fog repellers, and disinfectants. Although, for an infectious fog levels, it's honestly not all that bad. Keep a calm and collected head as you make your way from zone to zone, and you'll find yourself sitting on extraction in no time at all. As always though, thank you for watching this video all the way to the very end. I do hope that I was able to provide you with some assistance in beating this level. If you have any tips or tricks this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you would like to say, please do let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me, and if you want to join my community, there's a link to my Discord down in the description, as well as some other links you might be interested in. Among those links being one to the official GTFO merch store, which, as always, I highly recommend you check out if you're a fellow GTFO enthusiast and you're looking to pick up some sweet merch. Until next time, don't forget that a scattergun a day can keep the birthers and hybrids away, and hopefully, I'll see all you wonderful people in the next video.